Good morning. This is my theory-based case presentation done by Ernest Sevilla. So the person I focused on was Rosa, presenting issues with post-traumatic stress disorder. She's got depression, guilt, and shame. Rosa is a 25-year-old Guatemalan woman who is suffering from post-traumatic stress due to events that happened to her 10 years ago. 10 years ago, her family was attacked in the middle of the night that left both of her parents dead, and all women in the house were raped, including Rosa, her mother, and her 13-year-old sister. After the attack, Rosa moved in to live with her aunt and uncle with their children. Initially, Rosa did not speak much, but years later managed to make a good life for herself. I feel Rosa displays symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. It is well documented that survivors of extreme trauma are subject to experiencing PTSD. This can take place days, weeks, months, or in this case, even years later. Rosa is currently being discharged from the hospital she's in the hospital due to an attempted suicide. Rosa experienced PTSD when the idea of marriage and a sexual relationship with her current boyfriend became apparent. Next slide. So what is currently going on with Rose? The traumatic events Rose suffered through were never addressed. She said that when she moved in with her aunt and uncle, she would not say much and would often cry. Rosa tried her whole life to push these memories down so she could help contribute to her family, but she never addressed them. So when the idea of marriage and children came out, all of these traumatic memories came rushing back to her. She experienced feelings of guilt and that she felt like she was not worthy of love. Rose later started to lose control and eventually attempted suicide. She was taken to a hospital. Before she was released, she was put in contact with a social worker to help her process and heal from her past in a healthy way. What we know about Rose. Rose is born and raised in Guatemala. This is important because it helps us understand why she is not spoke about her trauma previously. The Guatemalan culture does not put an emphasis on mental health. In fact, seeking help is often seen as selfish or weak because you are putting yourself before the family dynamic. Rose had a normal childhood. She did well in school. She eventually had to stop going to school to help her family for financial reasons. Again, this is not an uncommon thing in the Guatemalan culture. Rose did speak with pride when she was asked about school, stating that she was a top student. Rose lives with her aunt and uncle and works in her uncle's store, which is a big location for tourists. Rose has taken upon herself to learn new languages to be a better asset to her family so she can communicate with foreign people on vacation. Two mid-level theories that Rose can benefit from. I went with cognitive processing therapy and an empowerment theory. I first chose cognitive processing therapy because research suggests that cognitive processing therapy, or CPT, may be particularly well-suited intervention for trauma survivors who endure self-blame. I think Rose blames herself, which is why she feels guilt, shame, and unworthy of love. I also chose empowerment theory because I feel Rose has shown tremendous strengths, and by leaning into those strengths, we can help her heal from her trauma. Empowerment theory also frames oppression and trauma as structural problems. By helping Rose understand that what happened to her is not her fault, will help her stop from blaming herself. Cognitive processing therapy. So this theory prompts the client to write down how they view their life from the moment of the traumatic event. CPT is a 12-step process that helps the client see their world as they see it from an outsider's perspective. So the first step is an initial meeting, just getting to know the client. Since there's already a relationship between Rose and the social worker, they can skip this process. The second step is getting the client to write down how they view their life after the traumatic event happened. I think this is a good theory for this client because she mentioned her love for school and she showed pride when talking about how she was a standout student. This will allow her to write freely and also maybe find a new way to help her cope in the future. Once the client has written down how they view the situation, we review it with them, but we view it from a bird's eye view. We get it, look at it, and just see how much of that their reality is skewed from their trauma. And we try to start the process of separating fact from fiction and reality from misconception. I feel the client holds a lot of guilt within herself, which distorts her vision of her own reality. I also like this theory for this client because it does identify the trauma, which is important because acknowledging that it did happen, but we cannot let this event control her life. Rose also stated that she wants a direct support, and I believe that this therapy puts everything out in front, so there's a clear path to start and a path to heal. The other one is empowerment theory. Empowerment theory leans on the client's strengths and gives them power of their trauma. Being that Rose has proven that she can survive, and I think it's important to make her feel like a survivor and not a victim. By helping Rose see her accomplishment and focus on the good things that have happened to her since her trauma, we could then create a bridge where she's able to cross over and begin that healing. Empowerment theory also works for Rose because we will be focusing on attributes that she currently possesses. So when she's feeling down, she can think of these things and it can help her bring herself back up. She has proven her independence, so I think she will be willing to accept this theory as a second to cognitive processing therapy. There are some limitations to these theories and therapy, but so let's go over them. The cognitive processing therapy. About 25% of the people involved in this therapy do not complete it in its entirety. The limitations for CPT are that this therapy asks the clients to do written work at home. Some clients do not want to write in their free time, and this task can seem daunting to them, which ultimately leads to the client wanting to get out of the therapy. I do not see this happening with Rose because she mentioned her love for school, and since she was unable to finish school, I think giving her this opportunity, she'll thrive in it. The limitations for empowerment theory, the client must believe they have power. So just because someone's told they have power doesn't mean that they're gonna, like, they hold or they control that power. Rose has been through a lot, and I think once we discuss it in the CPT, she will see just how much strength she truly has, and she will believe and commit to this theory. Issues to consider when working with this client. So one is she suffers from PTSD, and people who suffer from PTSD often have implicit memories triggered without effort. That means we have to understand that she might shut down in therapy talking about some of these things. She might have setbacks, and we need to understand that and have a theory ready to put into place to help her bring her back and get her back on track. Be mindful of her culture. Guatemalan culture has not historically been fond of seeking individual help for mental health. Be mindful of the power dynamic with the client. So understanding that the people who took advantage of her and her family were once put in place to actually protect them. Although she does require a firm hand to help her, be mindful not to create that hierarchy dynamic, as she might have an issue with someone in charge of her. And finally, self-affirmation. So she does not feel like she's worthy of love. So if we can just keep that constant reminder, that have her say it out loud that she is worthy, um, to help her get through and understand her importance as an individual, I think that would go a long way in helping her.